Welcome to #Wednesdays Weekly, a weekly information session in collaboration with the public sector and voluntary sector partners. This week, the host is Robbie and Kathy. Over to you, Robbie.
Thanks very much, Hayley. Thanks for the opportunity to talk a little bit about the Migrant Destitution Fund and what it's like being a destitute migrant in Greater Manchester. I think that's the kind of point of what we're here for, as well as what we do. I'll introduce myself in a bit, and be really keen to know who else is in the room, and give Kathy a chance to introduce herself as well. And then what we thought we would do for everyone here and anyone who might listen later on is just give a bit of an overview of what the Migrant Destitution Fund does, how it works, who it's like targeted at, and then talking with Kathy about what it's like to be a destitute migrant in Greater Manchester, what support and assistance is available, what aims and ambitions both individually and collectively there are for the future too, and then finish off by kind of going through some more practicalities about how people apply to the fund in Rochdale, Oldham, Tameside, any other boroughs of Greater Manchester, and actually what support the fund is looking for, what things we're doing to help raise awareness and raise funds, which is, obviously a part of what you need to do for something like this. So yeah, I'm Robbie. I do actually work for Action Together, but in my spare time, I've been involved with the Migrant Destitution Fund since it started in its first form in 2017 or something, and I am a panel member for approving applications as well, and been helping support some of the awareness and campaigning activities that we're hoping to build up with the help of people like Kathy. So Kathy, if you want to introduce yourself next, and then the guys who are here, it'd be great to hear your connection to migrant destitution. But Kathy.
Great. Hello everyone, my name is Kathy and I'm an asylum seeker. I've been in the UK for nearly 3 years, and today I know some of you know me as part of Caring and Sharing, which I am as a volunteer there, but today I'm here with Robbie talking about the MDF Fund, and I'm with the Storytelling Project. So that's basically me in a nutshell. So yeah, maybe we can go around the room and get to know who is who and how we connect to the MDF Fund.
I don't mind going first. Hiya, I'm Emma Salloway. I work for Rochdale Council as the cohesion officer, and I'm also the link officer for the 14 grant-funded community centres across the borough. And we do quite a bit of work with Caring and Sharing and other local groups. So I'm just here today in that capacity, really, as a cohesion officer, and to perhaps share any information I get with the community centres. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Emma. My name's Hayley as well. I'm here from Action Together, and we'll just be looking at the tech side of things, but also really interested in learning more about the Migrant Destitution Fund. Lorraine, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Lorraine Martin Denham. I work for Tameside Council in the Community Safety and Homelessness team, really, and just wanted to learn more about the fund, and especially about Kathy's story.
Well, thanks, Lorraine. And Sarah?
Hello, so my name's Sarah Byrne. I work within the Rochdale locality. So we have 4 children's centres within there, and we work very closely with families with children aged from birth up to 5 years, and that will include some families that are also seeking asylum. So I've just come to find out some more information of what's available to support the families that live within Rochdale. Thank you.
Cool, thanks guys. I'm really sorry. We've got someone else joining us who's involved, who's just struggling to find the link. So I was on the phone to him there, and they'll be joining as well. So it's another individual who's involved in Migrant Destitution Fund, and can share some of the stories from them and the people they know about it. So I think I heard Lorraine and Sarah. Emma, sorry, I missed your intro, but I'm glad you could join us. give a bit of an overview of what the Migrant Destitution Fund is and what it does. And it's a simple thing that it's set up to do, and that's give £80 grants to people with no recourse to public funds in Greater Manchester. So it's entirely voluntary. It's made up of a number of organisations. I think it's like 28 referring organisations now in all 10 boroughs who are able to make applications on behalf of people they're in touch with. And our eligibility criteria to access that funding is simply that you are destitute, meaning you cannot cover your own essential needs, primarily housing and food, and that you have no recourse to public funds. So potentially you might be able to work, but you wouldn't be able to claim benefits and access to other public services that are limited by immigration status. We don't know exactly how many people there are who have those conditions in Greater Manchester. Hi, Abraham, glad you could join. I'm just doing a bit of an intro.
Okay.
I was just giving a bit of intro on the fund and what it is. So we'll come back to you in a second, give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. But yeah, we don't know how many people there are with no recourse to public funds in Greater Manchester. It's probably possible to know how many people there are in Home Office provided accommodation whose asylum claims are pending, waiting for a decision on, and that's those people would not qualify because they generally have got accommodation and some support provided, however little it is to live off. But then there's a much bigger number of people whose asylum claims have been turned down at one point or another, or they are awaiting an appeal, or they're gathering new evidence to submit, and they're no longer provided with the Home Office accommodation, but they're also not asked to leave the country, and they don't have the right to work, and they don't have the right to claim benefits. And that's the biggest group of people who we're supporting through this fund, and who end up destitute as migrants, but not exclusively at all, because there's also far too many people, worryingly, who come to the UK on working visas, or spouse visas. They come because their husband or their wife has a working visa, but then their relationship breaks down, and they're left without their own immigration status or the ability to work or claim benefits on their own, and have nowhere to turn as a result. And that's a group. And actually, since the coronavirus crisis, we've also seen a lot of people who do have the right to work, but don't have the right to claim benefits. And often within COVID, we've all seen people increasingly become unemployed. A lot of the people who've got those kind of working visas are working in catering or hospitality, or industries that have been highly affected by COVID, but they don't have the ability to access the same support because of the immigration conditions, and so they don't have anywhere else to turn, and they will also have a lot of fear often of the immigration authorities and what they might say if they go to them, and make their circumstances work. So we've been supporting all of those kind of groups, but anyone who has that no recourse condition on their visas is potentially able to apply to the fund if they're struggling with their housing, if they're struggling with food. We've given out, so we reopened we've been closed for a bit. We're focusing on fundraising. We reopened in April this year in response to the COVID crisis, and since then, a bit over 6 months, we've given out over 500 grants to nearly 200 individuals. So that shows the scale of people who are in these kind of situations and needing support. There's actually kind of about 60 people who've only accessed support once, meaning that they've needed a one-off payment of £80 for a month, and that's been enough to help them get the support they need to resolve their situation or find another route, which is really good. But obviously that leaves an awful lot of people who need regular support because they've got nowhere else to go and their circumstances aren't improving, and that's something we're like really concerned about and want to do more on. So the fund, like I said, there's kind of quite a number of partners now in all the boroughs of Greater Manchester. including in Rochdale, where we've got a few partners, and we can mention earlier, and in Oldham and in Tameside. The value of the money we've given out is now over £37,000 in that time, and every single penny of that has been raised from public donations or from grants and foundations, including the GM Mayor's Charity and the We Love Manchester Fund. So none of that comes from state sources, and that's both important and understandable given the nature of who's receiving it. 16,000, so the largest single source of the money we've raised has come from public donations, and that is fantastic for us to see. But obviously the volume of need for this means we constantly have to keep fundraising, we constantly need to keep getting money in. But what we also want to do is help more people understand what it's like to be an asylum seeker, what it's like to be destitute as a migrant in Greater Manchester, and so they can hopefully help change and provide the wider support that's needed, and prevent people needing to be in this situation in the first place, because that's the long-term goal, rather than giving out tiny bits of money that really aren't enough to live off anyway. So that's what we wanted to do a bit of today, and that's where Kathy and Ibrahim are fortunately able to help us and talk from the experience of themselves and people they know about what it's like. So it's more than enough of my voice. I wonder, Kathy and Ibrahim, if you can talk to us a little bit about what it is like to be destitute as a migrant, and Kathy, I wonder if you can share some of the experiences you've heard from people you've been in contact with.
Great, I'll go first. I cannot see Ibrahim. I hope you're there.
Oh, it's like I made my video. I don't know.
It's the most weirdest video I've seen in a long time. Okay, that's better. It's good to see you. So yeah, I'll go first. What it's like to be destitute, I can say it's scary and it's indefinite, especially for asylum seekers. Why? Because you don't know when you are going to come out of it. So when your case is refused or when it's rejected, you're given 28 days to leave, if I'm not mistaken, 28 days to leave the NASA accommodation. And mostly when you come here, you don't have friends where you can go to say, okay, you can help me, or you don't have family where you can know that you're going to have a concrete accommodation. So that means you're going to be moving from one friend to another and to another. And because of my work with caring and sharing, I've been exposed to different number of people who have been destitute at some point. And some people, they come to us when maybe they have been destitute for 3 years, and then you wonder how they have been living. And when you're applying for the support, you always want to know where someone is staying. And sometimes they don't have that concrete address to give you because they're not sure if they're going to be in that certain place for a long time, or it's just another temporary place where they're going to be here for a month and then move on to the next person and to the next person. And recently we have been working with someone we know. They have been destitute for 2 years, and their partner is in prison. And so because of the COVID, they've not been able to visit them. They have not been able to, well, they can visit, but because they are in that situation where today they're in Manchester, the next thing they're not in Manchester anymore, they keep moving places. So it has been very difficult for them. And personally, I've been destitute. I think I have the shortest record of destitution. I've been destitute for just 2 days. So I used to complain about it until I was exposed to all these people that I've worked with, that we've come to help as an organization. And I don't complain anymore. And to be honest, I don't even like talking about it, because we've seen worst case scenarios of people who have health conditions and yet destitute. And what that means is, because you have no recourse to public funds, you don't have benefits, you cannot go to the GP, you don't have a GP assigned to you basically. So you cannot afford that. and you don't have a solicitor and all that, you cannot afford the basic stuff. And that is why it's important for us to be having the MDF fund, especially if we can have it regularly. So there are many stories that we could share. And the other person we've been working with recently also, they have been stuck in the UK. They traveled and then they got stuck when the lockdown started. So it comes in many forms and shapes depending with the situation of the person. But then the bad part about it is it's indefinite. It's difficult even to try and inspire hope in someone and say, well, don't worry, you'll come out of it tomorrow. Give us a month, we are working towards it. That's hard. Because whenever you work in a charity organization or wherever you're helping people, the one thing that you want to give them, even though you can give them that £80 or that £10, you want to give them hope and to tell them there is a brighter side, you're going to come out of it. But then when? So that's how difficult it is, if I am to put it in a nutshell. I don't know if Ibrahim would like to add on to that.
Thank you, Kat. Robbie, thank you for giving this platform. I will use myself as a case study. Maybe you just say you're in shortest destitution. I was the shortest. I just spent one night outside. I think that day I will die. Because what happened, I flew from Sierra Leone to Manchester straight off. I asked for asylum at that moment at Manchester airport. So when I asked for asylum with all my health conditions, because I'm a disabled, I have more complex health situation. They took me to detention with all, when there's everything about me. They know I brought all my medical evidence, my scan, because I was suffering from kidneys-related disease. I was suffering from post-polio. I have some difficult challenges. I was in detention for just one night. So I was so lucky. In the morning hours, the head of the detention came and saw me, and I explained. She got angry. Why must they put me in detention center? They know my health situation. So she was so angry at them. She released me at that moment. But the most funniest part of it, I didn't know I would stay in the detention center. They took me to Liverpool. When I went to Liverpool, because of I have £100 that I came with from Sierra Leone, they refused to give me house. They asked me I must sleep outside. I was in Asylum Link. I was there at call home office. They explained to them that my situation, this particular individual, she is a disabled, he has complex medical issue. And what the home office replied to them, they cannot bend their rules. I must use that money and sort it out and got receipt and send it to them. I told her, I don't even have food. How can I send receipt? So they asked me out at 5 p.m. Just imagine November. By then, I have my box. I was crying. So I met a good Samaritan from nowhere. I explained my situation. He took me to Whitechapel at that night. As I went to Whitechapel and I got attacked at night. So I started crying. They called ambulance for me. They took me to Liverpool Royal Hospital. I was there for 5 good days. I was hospitalized. So I know that one day, what that one day meant to me. I think it's just 2 days, I will die. So coming back to let me just add a buttress to what my sister said about destitution. I've been working with almost all asylum, all charity organizations in Manchester. I work with RAPA, Manchester Migrant Solidarity, Africa Rainbow, City of Sanctuary. So I work with all of them. And as of now, I think this is the first project ever that the whole of Manchester that I'm involved in. They call it End Racism of Virus. That means we are particularly about undocumented people. Who are these undocumented people? In the immigration terms, what is the meaning of undocumented people? Are people that are no more in the asylum system, that the Home Office like hunt to leave the country. For example, now I'm working with a lady called, I can't call her name. I'm working with a lady. Whenever I have conversation, sometimes tears run my eyes. She's over 50-something years old. She's here, she's undocumented. She pay for her medication. She don't have money. So I know what the other asylum seekers face. I believe you be undocumented, you be destitute in this country. It's like you are in prison. Just imagine you feel persecution, thinking that when you come to UK, you are safe. And you're in this country again, they put it as destitute. Some of the main challenges some of these are destitute people face. Like before, I just got granted, not that long, like 6 months ago, I got granted. during the pandemic. So I was fortunate to be in circles out. So, but some of these people I've been working with, because I'm the coordinator for MySol, I'm the coordinator for Africa Rainbow, I'm the coordinator for RAPA. So I've been working with all these organizations. So I know what it means to be destitution. It's like you are in hell. It's like you are in, trust me, if I didn't be, I'm destitute for 5 days, I'll commit suicide. I used to tell my solicitor the last time, because I know what it feels. For example, some of these people that are coming into this country, their weather conditions is very different. One of the main things that destitution people face is the housing. You cannot ask someone to live in the winter time. And there is one thing about the Home Office. Whenever they give you eviction notice, if they come, they didn't meet you, they will just change the lock and change all the keys. And where do we expect you to live? And there's no plan B, and you don't have family. Like what just my sister said, we don't have family. Our family is the UK. Maybe that's why the last time we had some like a workshop with the mayor and some people. I told them that maybe they should put this in a curriculum for people that are in school, maybe primary or secondary school, because they don't know how it feels for them to leave your family. Just imagine, like 3 of you just live here, go to Africa, you don't have family, you don't have anyone. You know all those, what that means to you. It's like these people, they don't think because they don't have the know-how. But if they have the know-how, how to treat asylum seeker, trust me, they'll make a platform for nobody to be destitute, because it's very, very, it's not easy. How can you expect someone to be out in the city for 20 good years, 2 decades? Assuming now, because that's the new Home Office policy. If you are undocumented for 20 years, they'll consider to give you paper. Let us assume a person flee to this country like 35 or 37 years, and by 57 years, you issue a status for that person. It's like the status is useless. Let's call a spade a spade. It's like it's useless because that person cannot bring his family, and there's a clause in the Home Office. This hostel environment, they fix it in a way that they'll make us go mental, disturb, depression. Even when I got my status, I still depressed. I still have anxiety. As I'm talking now, I'm under anxiety and depression statement. So
no, it's his internet.
Yeah,
oh, shame.
He's frozen briefly there, just when he's talking really passionately.
I know.
But I think some of the points were thanks to both him and you, Kathy, for sharing some snippets there, and I think that's what we see across the 200 people who've accessed the Migrant Destitution Fund as well. So often what people are using the £80 they get for is essentials. It is their food or medication they need, stuff from the pharmacy. Sometimes it's cosmetics. We've spoken to a lot of women who use it to buy like sanitary pads and things, and that's really tragic to see. But there's a lot of things that you need to pay for and are really hard to get to.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about Ibrahim. You're
my laptop went
loud and clear. I was
just sorry. My laptop went off. I just used my phone now. Sorry about that. I'm so sorry. I forgot my charger at home.
That's okay, Ibrahim. I was just sharing some more of kind of what people use the Migrant Destitution Fund for to help with that experience. And what you were also talking about was some of the other organisations you're involved in, and I'm wondering if you can share a bit again about the different support and assistance that people are able to get in Greater Manchester, and what helps with that experience beyond the Migrant Destitution Fund when you are destitute.
Okay, I can always use myself as case study because I'm just from the system, so I know what is going on in Manchester. Like before the pandemic started, we used to go like meetings to meetings. Before the pandemic started, we used to go like meetings to meetings, and each meeting you attend, they will give you £5. That £5 is like to buy bus pass, but sometimes you can go like 3 meetings for a week. So what people do normally, they will have like 8 or 9 meetings. They will use £16 to buy, and the rest they will use it to buy food. And like rappers, I will quote like rappers. Every week we have 3 meetings, and those 3 meetings they go with £15. Some other organizations we do go there and collect some money. But during this pandemic, all the organizations, because of the lockdown, how did they get support? They get support through maybe data like the group I'm running, I'm the coordinator, we call it mental health group. So how we support members is every month we give them £20 to buy data. And some other organization, we give them money. Like I have like MySaw. MySaw, they really helps because of this past month. They bought every member a brand new laptop, and every month they do give us, it depends, sometimes £80, sometimes £100. It depends on what the funding is. So like other organizations, Salford Forum, they do support members through voucher. But people that are suffering more are people that are not in Section 95. For example, now, Section 95 means you can access your card and collect money on the ATM. Why Section 4, you cannot have access to collect money. You can only have access for use the money as voucher. So all those people, we think about them, and we know how difficult it is. So like all these organizations for now, because of social distance and other stuff, we always meet in Zoom. And during Zoom meeting, they always give them credits, sometimes voucher. There's another organization, I think, they always give £80. I don't know who's that one. I never knew. It's for people that are undocumented, that are not in the system. I don't know, but City of Sanctuary normally refers people to that particular funding. I don't know that funding because I never work with them. So every month they will give them £80 because so we have some members that are not in the process, they are not receiving anything. So when we get those type of situation, we send it to the appropriate charity, like City of Sanctuary. If ever I have any member I know is not qualified for this, I will just say, meet Liz and City of Sanctuary. Liz will refer you. Like now, rappers, sometimes we give people voucher, £25, £30. Salford Forum did the same thing. So that is how people survive.
Kathy, you're obviously involved with an organisation in Rochdale. What support and assistance are you able to, or are people able to access?
Okay, so I'm with Caring and Sharing organization in Rochdale, and basically we help with groceries, with mobile credit top-up, and as well as making referrals depending with what you need specifically. And we also have activities that happen throughout the week in terms of mental health and trying to have activities that just bring people together, especially during this COVID crisis. And we are also partners of the MDF Fund, which means that we can make applications on behalf of the people who are destitute. And so we verify if they are indeed destitute, and make sure that we always liaise with the MDF Fund and get them the help they need until they are back on their feet. And then I'm also part of Refugee Action, and they have what they call the Asylum Crisis Project. So if someone becomes destitute, let's say after the 28 days, they don't have anywhere to go, sometimes they can help you to put you in a temporary accommodation while they try to figure out if there are other organizations that can help you further. But I know we have friends that we have referred to Asylum Crisis Project, and they have been provided with temporary accommodation for maybe a month or 2 months. Oh, and then the other one for 6 months. Yeah, there was another guy was there for 6 months in a temporary accommodation until they could try and see what are the legal ways of getting him the help that he needed. So yeah.
We're really lucky, I think, to have a number of organisations that can provide support. So beyond the immediate stuff, to both of you, Ibrahim and Kathy, like what's the?
Can I just add a bit to what Kat said? And like for the other way we assist the destitute in Manchester, like for Rapper now, yeah, what we call a casework team. I think it's only Rapper that is doing it. For example, if you don't have a solicitor, maybe your case has been thrown out, we have legal experts into that. They will help you to case. They will help you find evidence. They will help you make sure they find a solution for you. Because I have like 4 or 5 people that just got granted that we are not in the system. Almost already closed their case, but what they call a casework team. So in Rapper, if you know anybody that his or her case has been thrown out and is looking for like people to help, Rappers help a lot. And we also have help of housing. What happened now? I got evicted. Tomorrow I should leave my house. But due to the cooperation with Manchester Tenancy something and some organization today, they had a meeting and they called SACCO because I was supposed to leave tomorrow my house. Because of that, they called SACCO and they asked me to extend my date to next January 4. So if they have any issue about their cases, asylum, housing problem, we do help. Also in detention. If you are in detention, you just need to bring RAPA. If you are not a member of RAPA, if you say I'm in detention, automatically we'll send somebody that will take you out from that detention. And we don't allow our member to go alone for signing, because that is a place most asylum people will get apprehended and deported. That's why we already have those strategies. If we know any of our members is going for mathematical in or her alone, we must make sure someone will go because we want them to detain him. So in all ramifications, we help asylum seekers from the starting of their case to the ending.
Thanks, Ibrahim. And you cracking up a little bit at the end, but I think that the point about being able to get advocacy and advice on how to challenge some of the things happening to you is a really, really important one, and is on top of, I think, Kathy, one of the really important ones you were saying of where else you can go for your immediate and essential needs. But I'm interested what both of you are saying about some of the more social activities, the stuff you can get support for, you know, mental health and companionship and things. What role does that play if you're a asylum seeker or destitute migrant?
Well, I think, okay, Kathy, go first. Ladies first.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think it's important that we have the mental health institutions or organizations that deal with that to, you know, pay attention to asylum seekers, especially because loneliness is the #1 thing that's a killer when you come into a land that you don't know. Ibrahim has already said that if you guys were to just, you know, go to Africa impromptu and then you find yourself in that place and you know no one, you would need a companion. First and foremost, you need someone who can understand you. Probably if they can understand your language, that would be fantastic, because that's the other thing. It's language. Sometimes people, they don't know how to communicate. People, they don't understand each other because of communication. I have a neighbor, she speaks Arabic and I don't understand it, but then we have this companionship that even though she has other people who speak the same language with her, she always calls me to say, no, you're the one who understands me. And I have to interpret her English if she's speaking to an English speaker, because we now have that relationship and understanding where she's coming from and understanding her plight, and also just being able to cry with a stranger, because sometimes you are so loaded with emotions and you will need someone where you can just find that comfort, that companionship, and be able to just, you know, let loose and let it go, because it's really hard. It's really hard. So if we can have more organizations that can make those chats, the friendly chats, and then just check on someone, how they're doing. Sometimes it's better than getting money, you know, just being connected and knowing that there are people out there who care. There are people out there you can call at any time and then they will understand you. And also there are people out there who can understand when you don't want to talk at all, because sometimes you just don't want to put up with anything. So that kind of relationship, if it can be formed, if we can have such organizations that pays attention to the mental health side, it will go a long way. Thank you, Ibrahim. You can go on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kat. Just what you just said, I think language barrier is one of the main challenges asylum seekers face. I can always take a case study to myself. My house, I live with 3 Arab people. I don't understand what they say, what they don't say. You know, I'm so boring. But one of the main challenges I see in the whole process is they should allow asylum seekers to have access to internet in their houses. Because in Manchester, I don't know, yeah, in UK, they are not allowed asylum seekers to have television. I believe at them be there's a provision wherein they will say, okay, now all asylum seekers must have television in their houses. I believe it's, if you feel like stress, you can just go to the internet, maybe look film or look other thing, maybe go to YouTube, but there is no facility for asylum seekers to have a television in their houses. That's why normally the Zoom meeting do help us a lot. Like me, do help me a lot. Because it's through the Zoom meeting, you can see your old friend, talk with them. Because depression is part of us. 95% of asylum seekers have depression. That is because the way they design the system, the way they modern the system, this hostile environment is very difficult for asylum seekers, especially this pandemic period. As we all know, presently, not me, what the scientists said, the people that are more vulnerable from this virus is the Black, Asian, and African. And if you look at the whole process, 98% or 99% of asylum seekers are from African and Black Asian. So we die more of the virus than anyone, not because we don't have a strong immune, because of the way they packed us. Maybe a room that can accommodate or a house that accommodate 2 people oxygen, you put 3 or 4 people. What do you expect? And how can you expect someone that is not getting money, maybe to get food, stay home or shield himself when the government is not doing nothing? Definitely, they must go out and find food. Maybe, who knows, it's when they go out and get those food, they'll caught the virus and come in, and with language barrier, maybe we start coughing or start doing something. How can they communicate? You know, all these things. That's why I just want, we can just focus on, like, these are some of the things I was thinking. They need to have internet access in their house, and also we should know if the home office can just make a model that's okay. Now, this house is for English-speaking country, like what Kat just said. If we all speak English, you know, we can talk and discuss. But you bring Arab people, maybe 3 Arab, one French, 1 Arabic, 1 English. So how do you expect them to interact? With all that can increase our depression and anxiety level.
I think to add to that, one of the other big areas, well, two areas that the Migrant Destitution Fund is often, the funds that people access are often used for. One is traveling around to get to see people. It's a lot harder, obviously, during COVID, but we've been supporting people who aren't able to stay with their family or their children because they have a different immigration status, and we've been supporting them to get there. And that's really key when you're isolated and you don't speak the same language as other people around you. But we've also deliberately kept it open that people can use the funding they get for whatever they need to, so they can decide for themselves what they need and what they want. And I think that degree of agency and empowerment is really important, particularly if you've been in a system for many years that gives you vouchers only that you can spend somewhere, or not accessing any money at all. And often I think people are using it to pass on to the friend or the family member that they're staying with, so that they can stay there without putting too much pressure on the bills that their host needs to do. And actually, Ibrahim, you've already started talking about some of the changes to the law that you think are really important. I'm wondering if you could say more about those things that you're campaigning on, and what changes would make a really big difference to destitute migrants.
Well, we have been campaigning for many things like stop detention, allowed to work, housing issue. Because but me, my own suggestion, what I just think, I believe we should all put on and campaign in, is they should allow asylum seekers to work. If asylum seekers are allowed to work, not only it will help the asylum seeker, but it will also help boost the economy. If an asylum seeker is allowed to work, their depression and mental health status will be down. Because you can't expect a full-grown man to be living with £5 a day. But if they can make a provision now, okay, even if it's not a full provision now, asylum seeker, we can allow you to work, but in certain conditions. At least you can pay your bills, you can pay this. I believe with all those things, all those anxiety, depression, all other factors will come down. And we want amnesty, to give amnesty to people, give them status, because the most important thing about the whole process is status. Maybe when you have your status, is when you start to build up your family, when you think of moving to another. We are advocating for amnesty. We are advocating for status for all. I don't know if now we are on the campaign, you can also join us. You can also sign for it, status for all. So we are pleading to the government. This is what we want to see in the future. We need more workforce in the economy. By then, people, not that all asylum seekers are like lazy. You have crafty ones. We have manpower. Just give them a chance to input their their little resources and allow asylum seekers to go to university. It's only in UK, the whole world, that is not allowing asylum seekers to enter university. Because it will be like, for example, I have somebody that just got a very good distinction. They're about to enter university, but they refuse because of she don't have status. But let's assume in the long run, they give that person status. It's like it's going to start all over again. But if they allow that person to have a good university, like what we always said when we were young, education is the key to success. That person can not just benefit himself, maybe in the long run, if he returns back to his home country where everything is okay, he can use that skill and help others. By then, it will reduce the pressure on the international, on the Western world. I think these are some of the things we need, and I think we need. And these are some of the things we are campaigning on presently. The Status for All network is not just in Manchester; it goes across UK. We're in Scotland, Wales, everywhere. So we are pleading, applaud everyone to join it, because we are fighting for the same fight, which is freedom for asylum seekers.
Thanks, Ibrahim. I put one of the links into that campaign. I think it's really important, that Status Now for All campaign, and also the Lift the Ban Right to Work campaign, which Asylum Matters coordinate, is one I can put some information in the chat about. Kathy, I'm wondering, so for the future, what are the main hopes people have for what they can achieve with their lives, or where it can go?
Well, firstly, the MDF fund continues, because I know that we do this because we want the fund to continue. It has been helping a lot, and it comes with no strings attached. Like you say, you don't have to show what you have spent it on, because you need that freedom. We don't have that freedom. And in asylum seeker, you can't choose where to stay, where to live, who to hang out with. Even just to go and hang out, you have to look at the £5. Myself, I'm a mother of 3 children, all of which are back home, and they are expecting me to send something for Christmas, and it's something that I have to budget for 8 months and putting aside every time. It's not easy. So if the MDF fund continues, then it helps. It goes a long way. So that's my #1 hope, that it continues and helps a lot. And also that maybe the government can look at how they can practically try and reduce, destitution. They can be a part of it than leaving it to charity organizations to do it, because it's like they do the mess and then we have the charity organizations come to wipe out that mess, which is very difficult. So if they can participate in trying to make that happen, probably make provision for where people can go if they have been rejected, their cases, than to just tell them, okay, you're not being deported, but we don't want you here. So where then do I go? So maybe if we can have them look at that. And if the Home Office can also review the asylum cases within the 6-month period that they say they should, if we can have that, it will reduce a lot of stress and anxiety and destitution. So that is my other #1 desire. I mean, I've got plenty of them. And we spoke about the Leave the Ban campaign. I have been part of that campaign for a long time now. And we've also worked with Ben and Jerry's on that campaign, and we still want to do some films to it and so forth, so that we can just get the ban lifted and allow asylum seekers to work. I mean, if you are working and then you are left destitute, you can always do something about it. If I'm told I've got 28 days and I'm working, then that's practical. It's practical for me to go and look for a plan B and see how I can fend for myself. But then we are being taught to depend on charities, depend on people, depend on the system. By the time we get our papers, then we are doomed to just, lingering in that dependency syndrome. So I do hope that everyone at the end of the day has a place that they call home. Thank you.
And also, I think one of the main important thing, we need to get donor. If people can volunteer, let's assume we have like 100 people. Maybe it's okay, those 100 or 200 people, maybe we can find a ways and means on which this donor, they can put more money, because the more these funders get more money from donors, because all this money they're getting, I know is from donor. So I think we need to put on a strategy wherein we can donate or campaign. For example, let's say newspaper or any other thing, but we need more donor people to volunteer to give donor out, I believe through those donations they give, is that donation they will use to fund this charity, is that donation they will use to help other asylum seekers. The bone of contention, if there is no donation, nothing can work. Even this charity, they depend on donation. So I think that is the one main thing. We need more donation to this charity, to the people that are funding this charity organization.
Thanks, Ibrahim. That's a really good plug for one that I can just finish us off on, because the Migrant Destitution Fund does, like I said at the beginning, a small thing, and it's part of a much bigger support network that exists for people who are destitute and who are migrants who have no recourse to public funds. There are lots of other support organisations that the fund works through and is helping people to access. But the bigger change that needs to happen are legal ones. And as the fund, all we can hope to do is support people so they're not, so to limit their destitution until those legal changes can be made. And we need people to keep campaigning and keep knowing about them in the meantime. But to keep people alive, to keep people having those essentials when they're destitute and have nowhere else to turn, the Migrant Fund absolutely does need money. So I would really encourage, we're hoping that we can get 250 regular donors. If we had 250 people giving £10 a month, that will cover most of our monthly costs, and that's in a city of 2.5 million people. I think that's 0.001%. So we're asking for a very small amount. And if everyone who listens to this can maybe go and sign up 2 other people somewhere to give £10, then I'm sure we'll get there. We don't need to go too far there. And that money will enable us to keep providing small grants to people in really difficult situations for us until we can change the law. But what we're also wanting to do, like Kathy and Ibrahim have shared a small amount of their experience and the experience of those they've been in contact with today. But over the next few months, we're really hopeful to talk to more people about different experiences of being destitute as a migrant, of being in the asylum system and what it's like. And so if anyone has a social group, a community group, a political activist group, maybe your church or your mosque would have a meeting on Zoom at the moment, or in person maybe in the future, we'd really encourage you to get in touch. You can email migrantrelieffund@gmail.com to do that, or you can go on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/mdfgm, or our Twitter as well we've got, which again is just twitter.com/migrantfundgm. All of those places can go. They also have our donation link, which is on local giving through our partner charity MAC, who hosts the fund. So please, if you want to find out more about stories from people like Ibrahim and Kathy, and what it's like to be destitute as a migrant, please get in touch. And if you can encourage people to donate as well, that would be fantastic. That will keep us going until we can make the deeper changes that leave people in these difficult situations. Kathy or Ibrahim, do you want to have a final word, final message before we finish off?
Well, yes. I just want to say a very big thanks to you people, because without you, without your effort, without your sacrifice, we know what it means. The volunteers that are going around sacrificing their own life, because when the pandemic was so worse, volunteers are outside there because they fight for humanity. We know you people are there not because of anything. You are there to fight for humanity, and we are fighting for the same cause. We want to say a very big thanks to you people. We appreciate you. We just pray and continue. This fund will continue to help others that are coming, others that needed it most. We just want to pray, and I don't know how to say it. We need more funding. We need more funding so that you people can come in back and help others, and we are here to support you. That is all I want to have to say. Thank you.
Kathy?
Okay. Yes, I just want to add on to what Ibrahim said, to say thank you. And also, I know when we began, Lorraine, Emma, and Sarah were saying we want to get to know the stories more and know how we can be a part of this and continue to work together. And I just want to say that's the way to go. You know, whenever you want to help somebody, sometimes it should not be upon assumptions to say, no, I think they have these problems. I think they have these problems. I've always advocated to say, when you want to help someone, there should be nothing for us without us. you know, so keep engaging us and let's have the conversations and let's partner in, you know, just getting our voices heard and trying to change the systems. I mean, together we can do it. We also have potentials, we have skills that we have that can be useful in when you are trying to be helping people like us. So yeah, a big thank you for coming through, and let's hope that we will get the voices heard, get more people to partner with the MDF Fund. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy and Ibrahim. And I'm sorry, folks, we've not really had much time for questions. If you wanted to come in on anything, I think please follow up via email if you do have questions, and we'll keep an eye on the YouTube channel. Hayley, I suppose, if they have questions on there and we can respond to those, and please do get in touch to hear more.